Hey everybody, welcome to Questions on Tap. I'm Mark.
And I'm John, and today we are recording live and in person.
I know, switching it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm out here visiting Mark, and we also have a new microphone, which should get rid of the mic issues we had in the previous few episodes, so we apologize for that.
Big changes coming out over here.
Yeah, and I guess we'll get right into it. We'll see how this works. The problem that we're going to be discussing, at least for right now, is, I believe, what is it, the merchant's problem or something like that?
The merchant problem.
And essentially, long story short, the way this works is that there are 4 people in a boat with supplies and stuff for their journey. The boat, they have a huge storm, and there's an accident, and then all the supplies and people are washed out of the boat, and they wake up on an island with some of their supplies. There's 4 people. They look through the supplies, and they find out that they have enough supplies for 3 of them to live, but not for 4 of them. If the 4 of them try and live off that, they will surely die unless a miracle happens.
Yep.
So the question is this: what do you do? Do the 4 people need to kill one? Do one of the 4 people need to be killed in order to make sure that the 3 survive, or do they hope for that miracle and go at the 4 of them?
Yeah, and I feel like we started off with some dark topics on some of these problems and some of these episodes, and this is definitely another one.
I was to say, so we decided to lighten it up, and we talked about a shipwreck and people having to be killed. So here we are.
Yeah, so it's an interesting situation because, 4 people, we're in the situation where someone's going to die if you don't make a drastic sacrifice. And I feel like it's one of those where, I hate to say it, but if let's say they know someone has to die, then someone has to die. That someone is going to have to make that sacrifice to keep the other people alive. That's at least my initial perspective kind of on that.
Yeah, my thought process is going to be, once again, as I do, a very purist moral thing. I like my Immanuel Kant. I do not think that that the 4 people should decide to kill someone.
Okay.
I think that would be wrong because it's no one person's rights to say this is not an instance where democracy should decide who lives and dies.
So then all 4 of them die?
So what I would say is that the 4 in that case, if all 4 of them are going to do that, try and live, and understandably so, then you hope for that miracle.
So you're fine condemning 4 people. If you're one of these 4 people, you're fine having everybody die.
I am fine for hoping that waiting for another solution comes up.
Okay, but besides a pure miracle from God, 4 of you die. Is that a sacrifice and something you can accept?
If I am in that position, because I'm thinking to myself, if I'm one of the men on the boat, I could not in my head ever feel comfortable voting to kill someone.
Yeah, no, that is understandable. I think that'd be really hard. But okay, if you're in that position, you don't want to kill somebody, but you living could potentially condemn 3 people to death. Do you make the sacrifice?
That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
I think I would maybe like to think that I would.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where we all like to think of ourselves as the hero in the story. In an episode or 2 ago, we talked about the Good Samaritan. We all see ourselves as a Samaritan helping the person in need. But in reality, we're usually the priest, or I think it was a Levite or someone that walks by and does nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
Too often. So yeah, I'd like to think that I would. And I would think that maybe there's a moral responsibility for someone to do that. Not that it's morally wrong not to. There's nothing morally wrong with trying to survive.
Yeah.
But maybe there is a level of moral goodness in sacrificing one's needs to save the many. I would say the ideal morally right thing to do is to hope that one person is willing to sacrifice. Or if that isn't going to happen, then I think the morally right thing to do is to just extend it and hope that there's some miracle to save you.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a very idealistic and, pure way to look at it, which I think a lot of people want to be able to think about it like that. But, if I'm being real and I'm in a situation where there's 4 people and I'm one of them, I'd like to say that I can make that sacrifice. But, John, you know me well enough. I don't think I would feel like, it's interesting. I feel like saying this makes me sound like a terrible person, but I'd have a hard time sacrificing myself.
Oh, I would
think-
too. I'm in complete agreement. It'd be hard to sacrifice myself. I don't know that I would.
Yeah, I think that I'm being more like I'm pretty much saying that I don't think I would unless like I think it changes. People that are different or whatever. But if it's just four strangers on a boat, yeah, I don't think I'd be able to save myself. But I also am in the understanding that all four of us cannot live, and in that situation, I think I'm okay with having to make a very difficult decision along with the group.
Yeah, no, I think in reality,
Yeah.
maybe that's the smart thing to do. I think the question is like, because the question was posed is like, what's the right thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the right thing to do is decide who dies. But what is the practical decision?
Well-
Because in life, things are often you're presented with a series of bad scenarios.
Oh, that's
And
all
I think
life. Yeah.
and I think that you're never really able to, not never, that's really hard to find a lot of times in your life where you're going to make a decision that's purely good or purely bad. Most of the times it's
Yeah.
in the middle. It's complicated and you have to choose the best decision out of what you can do.
Yeah, I just don't think that, like, I think letting four people die is worse than choosing to kill one. Just like,
No, but as a
Yeah.
general rule, as someone who is like very against things like the death penalty
Okay, yeah.
and sentencing people to die,
yeah.
I don't see this any differently.
Okay, are you against the death penalty morally or politically?
Both.
Okay. Because I guess with that, I think I'm against it politically in our current political system, but I don't know if morally, with how awful some people have behaved, keeping them alive to me seems
I think
that's a challenge.
No, I think that's fair, and there are moral systems in which it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
A communal purpose in a sense, and like I definitely understand that because I think
Okay,
we
yeah.
can all think of heinous crimes
Yes.
in our
yes.
heads and people that we would say, quote unquote, deserve it. I think just the way I think about morality in life
Yeah.
is that I don't think it's ever a person's choice to decide or a group of people's choice to decide when life should end.
Yeah, no, I assume from talking to other people with a religious background, that's kind of like God's choice to make
Yeah.
when like that happens. So I assume that's kind of the similar.
Yeah, the way I'm looking is that if again, like we talked about with the trolley problem, and I've brought up my religious background in the past, like because every life has infinite value, you can't just decide to kill someone in order to save three. Like I'm not again, that's a utilitarian view that we want to save the most amount of people,
Yeah.
and whatever saves the most amount is the morally right thing to do. And I think even in Christianity, there's a way in which that makes sense and stuff in which you could do that. But again, the pure moral answer is that no, you probably shouldn't do that. Now, you could make the practical argument, and I would maybe even be here
Okay.
and say this, is that practically speaking, these people have families.
Yeah.
Are you really doing the world good? Like, are you doing the world good by letting four people die?
Yeah, and what I think
In a
is-
sense, you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
yeah.
even if in that bubble, yeah, the morally perfect thing to do is to just all try and survive,
See, I would
or
already-
have one
I would
person
already disagree on
sacrifice
that.
himself. But I will say, in taking the context of the world, what's the right thing for the world?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a right or a wrong here.
Because that's what's interesting. You've talked about in the past with the trolley problem, plugging our old episode.
Check it out,
that-
episode 1. Give us 5 stars.
That everybody has infinite value. That one person's life has an infinite value. And we've talked about four people.
Yeah,
Each one of them has infinite value. So infinity plus infinity, still infinity, whatever.
yeah.
But I think what's interesting with that is, so you say that, the four people should survive, right? So they have infinite value. And killing one, that one person, if you kill them, could also have infinite value, right? But what's interesting is if you let all four people die, it goes from infinite to zero very quickly. So I think having that perspective of, is some infinite better than zero?
Sure,
Is interesting.
sure. So, but thinking like again, that's a very utilitarian way of
No, but
thinking
even
about
it still goes with your thinking that if there's no life, there's zero value. If there's 3 lives, there's infinite. If there's 4 lives, there's
No,
infinite.
no, I agree. So I'm going to pull up the Kant question. Do we want to live in a society where a group of people can just decide who lives and who dies, no matter how big or how small that group is? And yes, I recognize that
I
in the
don't think
world people
I
do
don't
that
think
all the
anybody
time.
wants to live in that situation.
No, but is that ever a morally acceptable answer?
I mean, I think this question is.
And I would say
answering that.
no.
Okay, then what about the infiniteness versus zero? Does that not factor in at all?
I'm not saying it doesn't factor in the sense that I recognize that losing the 4 lives is obviously a tragedy.
I mean, that's taking away infinite potential value to the human race.
And you are still taking yes, and yes, practically speaking, you are obviously choosing that 3 people don't get all 3 people who could go home aren't going home.
Yes.
Kind of. That is a choice.
Yes. You're killing 3 people.
At the end of the day, that is a way to think about it.
Oh, but not the right way to think about it from that phrasing.
I don't think that's how, because ultimately it's not like some separate force is deciding this. It's these 4 people.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 4 men. These 4 men wash up on the shore and have to decide. They themselves have to decide, and not only that do they decide, at least one of them has to take up the means to kill someone.
Yes, whether it's somebody killing
Whether it's
somebody else or
physically or-
suicidal, yes.
What means someone has to decide. And I would also say suicide's wrong. So I would not say the moral thing is for someone to decide to commit suicide.
But if they sacrifice themselves, you said that was the easy solution at the beginning.
Yeah, but I think there are different forms of sacrifice. There's the question is there's kind of two. What does it mean for someone to sacrifice themselves? I think that maybe someone chooses not to eat and
Okay.
chooses not to use the supplies. That's different than like taking an action that causes death.
Yeah, this is interesting. It goes back to what we were talking about in previous episodes of is inaction still action? And I would say that's still a choice of letting yourself die.
But letting yourself die due to natural causes is different than killing yourself via unnatural causes. Or killing a person in any way. Like, natural causes are different than taking an action to do it.
So you're fine letting that person suffer for a long time through starvation, for the temptation to eat.
I'm not saying I'm saying the morally right thing to do is the 4 people try and make do with the supplies and see what happens.
But that would lead to a situation where somebody dies first.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, in this situation where 4 people try, it's very unlikely that that they all die at the same time.
Yeah.
One person will die first. Do the other 3 have to let themselves die? Because that one person did, or can they then eat the food if they've all been sacrificing? Or, yeah, I guess I'm going to start with that.
So, I mean, I've been looking at this, that if the 4 people in the beginning decide, again, my understanding of the problem, if 4 people at the beginning decide that they're not going to kill one of them, they're going to try and make do.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to fail, given how the problem stated. At that point, I'm assuming that no matter what happens, they're all going to die. And it's not like whether or not one person dies first and then the other people. I think it's totally fine for the other people to then divvy out the extra supplies and stuff.
Okay, yeah, no, that was how the problem was phrased.
But
You're
it's
correct,
not. But
yeah.
it's not changing the outcome. It might. Some people might live longer. Maybe, like, again, in that scenario, if one person dies, your person A dies, then person B dies, and person C dies, and finally person D. Yeah, person D lasted the longest, but that wasn't the problem.
No, you're right.
It was about the morality of it. If we want to phrase it slightly differently, we can. But yeah, I think that's my position. That the morally right thing to do is for the 4 of them to try and make do.
So for all 4 of them to sacrifice themselves
Yes.
instead of one.
I think self-sacrifice is always in these kinds of situations, is technically the morally right thing to do.
Yeah, so what if one person is like, guys, I got it. Should the other 4 make him eat?
At the end of the day, you can't really make someone do it. So I would say at that point, if someone is self-sacrificing, I would say I wouldn't take the split second and be like, hell yeah, and then like not care.
There'd be a little bit of relief.
Like there's a difference between like immediately going, oh yeah, awesome. Like I would thoughtfully, I think, considering it, discussing it, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, like if this person is just not going to do it, then you don't want letting the supplies go to waste is not morally helping anyone.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it.
So letting somebody die would be the ideal situation if they choose to do so.
if the three people are going to survive, that is the only situation, which I think is like considered a morally. Let's look at a positive negative spectrum.
Okay.
It's the only thing that's batting positive.
Okay.
In my brain.
Yeah,
Again, when I say something's morally wrong, I'm not saying it's not understandable or it doesn't have practical benefits. There are things that are technically gray or wrong or confusing.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't even say maybe it's not even morally wrong to kind of vote on how to handle it. Like like there's variations on this that are like, what if, age groups or someone's sick or like there's a child, like how do you value each person?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of conversations to be had with life and that and what you do. So I'm not saying it's not like an understandable decision. I'm not even saying that I would self-sacrifice myself or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or that would stop someone else from doing it. Even though I probably should try. But the point is that what is the ideal? That's what I'm talking. What is the ideal that we should strive for? And the ideal is that no one gets left behind. If one person gets left behind, we all get left behind.
Yeah. I can understand that, and I think that's, it's a nice way of looking at things. Well, actually, no, I don't even know if I agree with that. In terms of, like, to me, yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't want to say it's a simple math problem, because it's not, but
it's a simple math problem.
No, but it comes down to numbers. I'm going to phrase it differently to make myself feel better.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, 3 people's lives existing on this earth, to me, is better than none. And I think if you have that option, you should take it.
Again, I agree. That's why I'm maybe backtracking slightly, but saying that making that decision is not necessarily a wrong choice, but is it the more right one?
Okay, so how about this? How about if it's not a decision that all 4 people are sitting around, they're like, wow, this is the situation we're in. Like,
it's a mighty situation.
Yeah, no, it's terrible, but all
Heartbreaking.
right, let's draw straws. If they put it up to chance, and it somehow is fully even with chance, and no one's cheating or anything, obviously, and they all agree that if I get the shortest straw, take me out, for lack of a better, how does that play into the morality for you?
Ooh, okay. Maybe I'll slightly redo. I didn't know that was an option.
I'm making it an option. Well, why not? If it's 4 people,
straws letting chance decide. Okay. And again, in this situation, we're going to assume that there are 4. Let's say there are 4 men of similar ages and backgrounds. And
similar enough people that.
It's negligible. Now, I don't know if that changes it. That's a separate question that we can answer.
I was going to say because all infinite value, it shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't matter.
Okay.
I think I would stick with that. I'm just thinking about it.
No, but it makes it easier to picture if it's 4 people. They don't get it.
Just for my mental imagery. So the way I'm thinking about this, let's say you pick a shorter straw. Maybe that person has to sacrifice themselves and not do the supplies.
That's how this is set up. Yeah, that's how I set up the question.
Not an active killing. Someone doesn't kill the person it's not like I'd walk up, you or me or whoever in this
and just stab them really quick.
Joe went up and stabbed them. That's not what we're doing. We're saying that, all right, whoever draws the shortest straw has to not take anything from the supplies and hope for the miracle kind of thing. Yeah. That's
okay.
Fine, yeah.
Why?
I don't know if that's the most morally right answer. I don't know if that's the ideal.
No, but what's your opinion?
But I think that's a more morally acceptable answer than voting on like a democracy kind of thing.
Okay.
Even though it's 4 people and you could split 2-2, and I don't know how you handle that, but rather than voting, you're letting chance decide.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me that also seems like...
In some ways, chance is fair.
I mean, in this situation, it's 25% chance.
Everyone's got the same chance.
Yep.
I think that's fair. I think it's at least fair.
Okay.
That's how I would describe it.
I
think borderline morally acceptable.
Okay. All right, so how about this?
Is it the moral ideal? I don't know. I would say probably not. But it's more morally acceptable than voting.
Okay, so on the moral spectrum, we're kind of working out where you stand.
Yeah, so if you have all the way to the right is morally ideal, and then you have all the way to the left is horrible, I would say, and then the middle is neutral, I would say it's moderately right.
Okay.
Maybe in the middle between center
it's
and
the
ideal.
most morally right way I think we've found
That we can agree on, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, to me that sounds good. What about everyone agrees? The 4 people, draw straws. Someone gets the lowest one. What if he's like, no, I don't want to do it. I changed my mind. Because I feel like everyone would have that, self-preservation instinct to do. What do you do? Do you just let him go? You redraw straws? How does that work?
You prevent him from going to the supplies,
So you kill him.
I guess.
Wow. Is that what John's thinking right now? Did I don't know. You seem a little hesitant here. Because I know you've never said anything like that in the past.
Well, I think that situation turns this from a morally acceptable one to a neutral one.
Okay. Because, yeah, I mean, if Chance decided that person was the one to die, but he's like, no, I don't want to, then, yeah, I mean, you have a tough decision because then drawing straws, again, is unfair to everybody.
Well, because here's the way I'm looking at it, is that if the one person says no, you as a community decided that it was, and I still say this, we don't have the right to decide if someone dies, but you're not deciding, you're letting chance decide. Chance is a mathematical, logical thing. You have 4 straws.
Yeah.
There's nothing unfair, there's nothing biased about that.
Yes.
It is about as good as you can get in this situation.
In terms of, relative chance.
Yeah, if we're trying to find a middle ground here, then you as a community decided that were the rules that you were going
And
to
the
play
agreed
by.
upon person who drew the shortest straw also agreed to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if you attend a university, you agree to tenets of that university, and there are things in the handbook that you're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
Whatever those things are. So if I break those rules, there are punishments for that.
Yes.
In the same way that in most countries, if you break the rules, meaning the laws,
Yeah.
you have to go to court, and there's a system. Sometimes if it's a minor thing, you get a citation. Other times it's jail time. If it's a federal crime, it's prison. And in certain states, there's a death penalty. And so there's a law and a way in which things happen here. And so I guess maybe I'd flip my answer slightly, which is if we're thinking about this, these 4 people are the government.
Yeah.
There is actually a kind of religious Christian way to say the government does have authority. In terms of I would say just a group of people who don't have authority deciding who goes to jail even, I would say is wrong.
Okay.
But a government in which has this kind of, in the church I'm in, we would say there's 2 kingdoms. There's heaven stuff in the ideal, and then there's we live on earth and we need governments to help manage people, because without governments everything's chaos.
Okay.
And so for the social good, the government's meant to kind of preserve society.
Okay.
And so in that instance, if we're looking at these 4 people of government, then I think it is morally okay to
Okay.
take that away, because this is a fair system in a sense. This isn't just 4 people voting.
So, okay.
Because there's no other way to have a judge or jury. You can't have a trial. There's no time for that. You either just vote by in my mind, there's the democracy where we just vote.
And that's an option here.
I would say that's a worse option than the straws, because the straws, it's fair.
Yeah.
There's nothing unfair about it in this instance. That's the most fair version of that.
Yeah.
And so in my head, if we're establishing this as the island's government in a sense, that government has authority. And this system itself is not biased. It's not prejudiced. There's nothing going on.
The chance system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when you all agree to that, in the same way that by living in any country, you agree to that country's laws, or even visiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I am saying. Yeah, it's fine.
So you can kill the person. If they agree to it.
Yeah, again, when I say kill, how the action happens, I think we could probably debate a little bit on it.
Because, again, that's the inaction of letting them die versus taking the life.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Then I'm gonna phrase another one. I feel like this is really fun for me. I've just been asking you this entire time, trying to challenge.
Yeah.
It's entertaining. Okay. So what if, there's 4 people. What if 3 of them decide to form a government, and they all agree that it's the law of the land to kill the one other person? Are they allowed to do that? Because they formed a government, talked about it, made the decision that's best interest for the government and its people.
I would say no.
Why?
We're getting into some geopolitical stuff right now.
I guess we kind of are. I didn't really think about it like that, but I'm keeping it on this island.
Okay, for the
For now.
podcast's sake, what I'm gonna say right now, I'm not saying it doesn't apply. I just would need to think it through on how it plays on like a geopolitical.
Oh
scale.
yeah, we're not talking deep politics right now.
This is not like a political discussion, just to be clear.
Maybe another time. We'll see.
But in terms of this situation, I would say the rules need to be agreed upon by everyone.
Well, they were. That person, the fourth, just happened to not be in the government that they created.
What do you mean?
The three other people got together.
Yeah,
talks.
can you describe the scenario again?
Yeah, so there's the four people.
Okay.
You know, the three of them, the first day start talking as the other one goes to the bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah, and they form a government within those three people. Start talking, and they have agreed upon,
Oh,
laws that
okay.
they
Yeah,
think.
no, I think that's wrong.
Why?
Because the way in which that government was formed was illegitimate.
How is a legitimate way for a government to form?
I mean, in this scenario,
Yeah.
there are there are four people on this island.
Yeah.
And one of those four people's lives are at stake.
Yeah.
It is not a morally fair, or I would say, or loving choice to
Oh, it's definitely not loving. Yeah.
to have three people just decide. That's essentially the three people voting to kill the person. That
100%,
is
yeah.
equivalent. That's almost a moot. Like, this is a moot point for me. It's like that's no different than a democracy and three people decide to kill one.
But if they formed a government, it's
That's not the government was an illustration. I didn't
No,
mean
no, no,
literal
no.
government.
No, I think that checks out with the rest of your
Yeah.
thoughts. I just wanted to know. I wanted to see if I could push it a little bit. I think I got pretty far though. I mean, we got to a point where it's okay to kill or let somebody die in a certain situation.
Yeah.
Without their wanting to.
Yeah, there is a situation in which I think there is a morally way to do that. There's a moral way to do that. Is it the moral ideal? Probably not.
Okay.
Is it a moral option? Probably.
Okay.
Again, it's hard to know what's moral and not these days. But like,
Well, no, but this is mostly just our opinions, how we view things. Like,
yeah, I think on the spectrum of morality,
Yeah.
it's more morally right than other things.
Okay.
And I wouldn't put it at the center. I think it's a fair thing.
I'm pretty okay with that. About you ending in that spot, because I feel like, I'm trying to think of other situations how far I could push you, but I don't think.
I hesitate to call it good. I don't think I would call it good, but maybe it's acceptable.
So not terrible, but not great.
It's not despicable.
Okay. On whatever scale that is, from the worst to the best.
I mean, this is a terrible situation. So
Oh, this is awful,
there's like a
dude.
level of like practical understanding of the people in.
Yeah, I feel like that, if you're actually in this situation, you're just gonna be like, "Yo, guys, we're totally screwed right now. Like, how the heck did we end up here?"
I'm surprised I went through all the supplies to make sure. I don't know if I would have done that.
Oh my god, yeah. I feel like I'd be panicking so much that I wouldn't even think to count out the supplies, and then how they know that four people are
I
definitely
think
not gonna be able to
that's
make
the
it.
hard part about this problem. Is like, how do you know that for sure?
Yeah.
Do you really know that? Because I think that's my first question here. If I'm on this island, someone's like, "I've done the math, guys."
That's what's always funny about all these like philosophical questions is there's always that beginning of like, okay, how realistic is this problem? Because it's hard to determine and talk about morality in an unrealistic situation.
Yeah, and also like I think that's in all of our through our lives are complicated situations are, and why these thought experiments are kind of hard is because normally outside of this podcast we don't talk in thought experiments. We talk in
Real situations.
In real
that are presented in the
situations.
news or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. And I think in thought experiments, you have to look at this again. I always say like the pureness of the try problem,
Yep.
the pureness of this problem. You have to suspend disbelief that things can happen the way that they're said to have happened.
Yeah.
When in reality, reality's so much different.
But I think
Because
that's what
reality
makes it-
never,
yeah,
because reality's not without bias.
100%.
Reality doesn't just poof out of nowhere. Like there's a set
Like
of
the trolley that you're riding on.
yeah, there's a set of circumstances that lead you to that situation. And those circumstances and the people involved and where you're at, the context changes everything.
Yeah.
Maybe not always, but a lot of the time.
No, but a lot of times it can set the background for kind of what makes it more right versus more wrong.
And how do you get into that situation?
Yeah.
How do you end up on an island with magically enough for three people and not for one? Why not two? Why not one? How do you survive? How are you not dead right now? Like,
I think the beauty of a lot of philosophical problems is you're kind of able to have discussions about potentially hard topics that's a slight step away from actual reality that can allow people to have a conversation without making it too personal or get too argumentative. Because obviously, like, I was trying to push John, to his limits to see where that like morality kind of changed. But it's just kind of interesting to see how someone can justify their beliefs in their own head,
Sure. But anyway, before I just jump on to another topic here, that's going to do it for this episode of Questions on Tap. As always, let us know how you think, your viewpoints on this topic. And if you liked it, feel free to give it that 5-star review. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll catch you in the next one.